Hi everybody, welcome to Aimee Nolte Music. I'm Aimee Nolte and I'm so glad to be continuing with my series today, A Track and a Lick. The track that we're talking about today is Tallahassee Junction from the brand new album by Chris Thile and Brad Mehldau, called just that, Chris Thile and Brad Mehldau. This is track 2 on the album. Now, this album features Brad Mehldau, who is one of the leading forces in jazz piano today, along with Chris Thile, who is a mandolin player amongst other things and a singer. There are some instrumental tracks on this album, also he sings on a bunch of them. And you've heard of Chris Thile because of his work with Nickel Creek, as well as his work with the bluegrass band Punch Brothers, and of course most recently he has become the host of A Prairie Home Companion as of October of last year. So it's really cool that these two guys have done an album together. And it just came out a couple of days ago, so I'm really excited to talk about it. The track that I'm talking about today, like I said, Tallahassee Junction. The coolest thing for me about this album is the interplay of these two. They've both got such a solid sense of time and who they are as musicians that they never falter. And it's like this continuous motion of this guy improvising while this guy supports, and then this guy improvising while this guy supports, and then they're both improvising and just interlocking all the time. And the lick that I want to teach today, well, it comes from Chris Thile because he plays this really cool polyrhythm, and you know how I like polyrhythms. But I didn't just want to teach you what Chris is doing, I would also like to teach you something from Brad Mehldau. So I'm going to play it for you. It's at about 4 minutes and 10 seconds on the track. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the line that Chris plays, and at the same time, we're going to learn to play what Brad Mehldau plays underneath for support. So we're going to kind of take both parts and turn it into a study for solo piano. That's it. Isn't that cool? All right, let's take a look at it. So the whole tune is basically in A minor. It has some shifts. It goes to G for a while, but for the most part, what the tune does is just kind of like this. And this is what Brad Mehldau is doing while Chris Thile is taking that solo and playing that polyrhythm. So it's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me show it to you. Just like that. So this comes on beat 1 of every bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then all of these happen on the offbeats. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see that all the numbers that I say, I'm never hitting a note while I say those numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. All of the beats happen while I'm holding down a note. Let me show you the measure that I wrote so you can see how it looks. I actually needed to write it out in order to learn this lick because the polyrhythm gets complicated and I needed to actually see it. So this is how it looks. You've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and it just keeps going like this. It does it 4 times while this lick is going on. So what I've done is I try to write it out pretty clearly, and of course if you'd like this, write to me and I'll send it to you, aimenolte@yahoo.com. But let's look at what Chris Thile does first. So here it is, 2, 3, 4. He does that twice. This is nothing special. This is just a pentatonic lick, pentatonic blues kind of lick. Now the thing that I have a little trouble with is I'm not sure if he plays an E flat or an E natural the first time. Let's listen again. He mutes it, so it's kind of impossible to tell what it is right there. But definitely right here, and from then on out, it's an E flat. So I play it as an E flat every time, and let's just go ahead and write that E flat because I think he meant to. Now that's pretty easy. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how it, should fall in the beat. And he even does it a third time. But then, instead of waiting, see the other times he's held that. That's been an eighth note tied to 2/16. But now, instead of waiting, what he does is just hop right up an octave without waiting an extra beat. So that the whole accent changes. So before we're accent setting the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4 gets the accent. So now all of a sudden this G is on the beat. And this one gets the accent as well. Now I've circled some of these notes. This is what has been the key for me to learn to play this, because it's hard to play this left hand and to play the right hand. So every time I have circled one of these notes, I've only done it in these 2 bars. All of these circles, that is the time when you are going to hit a left hand note with a right hand note. Okay? It makes a lot of sense to play it. And until I circled those notes, it's the E flat, the B, the D, and the A. And this bar especially, I couldn't play it. It really helped me to know which of them were going to line up on the offbeat together. Let's look at my hands, I'll show you. Now the key for the right hand for me is to try to remember every time I play a G to use my thumb. That way I don't run out of fingers, because if you do it this way, you're gonna run out of fingers, and you don't want to have your thumb on a black note and then have to reach over. That's not a good idea. So if you do it this way, you can reach over and have your last 3 fingers to play these notes. They just line up perfectly. I don't know how it lies on the guitar fretboard. It's probably a lot easier. Thumbs hit each other, but it's okay, just let them. And let me tell you how I did this for myself, because I didn't start out this fast at all. And Brad Mehldau actually they take it at 85 beats per minute, but when I started at 58. Let me show you what that sounds like. And I just played my left hand a few times just to make sure I had it. And then I just played my right hand alone. So this was my process. It's very slow. Made sure I was really comfortable with that. Then I did my right hand alone. Actually continues to, that's important to realize, but I decided only to take it this far. So after that, I began to put my hands together. And like I said, the circles that I drew were key for me to actually visually see how they line up and to know, so that something about knowing which notes line up, like it's the E flat, and it's the B, and it's the D, and it's the A. Knowing those just gave me targets to shoot for, and I really like having that. You want to make sure that you don't rush, which is really easy to do at this slow tempo. took me a while. It took me a while to get that. I've got it now, but it probably took me 30 times or something before I felt like I had a handle on that. And then I increased my metronome 10 beats, so I went up to 68. And so forth. Then just a little bit more increments, and then hands alone again. You have to play with all parts of it. I would do certain measures over and over again just to get that. I would do that much. And then I'd go on. And I'd do that again. Just like that, you can break it apart, and it helps a lot. Here it is at 85. You can see I forgot to put my thumb on the G a couple times. Let me try it again. This is giving me like a lot of happiness today. I've had so much fun studying this lick. And I think it's fun to have taken one part, the piano part, along with the guitar part, and learn to put them together so that even though these two things come from two different guys, we've helped them interlock. Well, this album's absolutely wonderful, and I really recommend everybody getting it. Like I said, the most fun for me is to listen to the prowess of these two guys, how well they know their instruments, and the feel that they have in their bodies, and the way that it translates when the two of them come together in their soloing and their improvising. I love that. They can listen to each other while they're improvising. So Chris is playing this line, but at the same time, he's listening to what Brad's doing, and then it affects the way that he plays his next line, and vice versa. Beautiful thing. Chris Thile and Brad Mehldau. It's their self-titled album, I guess. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time on Aimee Nolte Music.